So basically, don't do anything Ed says. A little while ago, Mr. Ed, as I'll call him, did his video on how to be a shrewd negotiator. And I laughed because in watching it, I'm going, man, that is all the things I tell everybody not to do. Like totally the wrong things and the wrong strategy to have when you're buying a car. And that's what all my customers come to me trying to do, thinking, oh yeah, I can steal this car. I found this car on Craigslist. I'm like, no, that's a scam. There's no such thing as a cheap Ferrari. And of course, everybody has the dream of buying the cheapest one, and then it ends up costing them more and all that. Ed's strategy is a great way for people to pay too much money in the long run for mediocre cars, thinking that they're going to make a lot of money. So my advice to everybody is always buy the best car you can within your budget. So if you buy the best car on the market, chances are it's been well taken care of. You're going to enjoy it. If you take care of it as well, you'll get your money out of it. I'll never say investment because everybody thinks cars are investments. They're not, but at least you'll get a decent return because there's always a buyer on the market for the cleanest car on the market. So basically, don't do anything Ed says. Just buy the best car you can. Unless you like riding around in salvage title Lamborghinis with 8 check engine lights and noticeable paintwork. In your search for a top of the market car, or the best example you can find, a non-Ed Bullion example, what do you really look for? Most of the questions I get asked are, well, how many owners does it have? And really, who cares how many owners it had as long as they serviced it properly? I've seen documented one-owner cars that were absolute turds because it was the wrong owner. And I've seen 7, 8, 9-owner cars that traded hands between collectors, and they're fantastic cars. So what you really want to ask is, okay, what kind of service history is there? And not just that, but what recent service is there? Because while 20 years ago service is good for the provenance of the car, 2 years ago service really affects what condition the car is in now and how much money you might have to put into it as soon as you buy it. You certainly want an independent pre-purchase inspection, or PPI, if you don't know how to do one of those yourself, which most people don't, even though they think they might, but a lot of people think they're racing drivers as well and need to be dissuaded of that opinion. I will say Ed is right about one thing. You buy cars that maybe have some holes in their history and aren't presented properly, and you fill in those holes. You detail the car, you present it better, you take better pictures, you get it serviced and up to snuff for the new buyer. So there's really no excuses, as I like to say. And that way you make people feel comfortable about the car, and they're willing to pay more money for that level of comfort. And if you're doing this over and over again and you have a level of expertise within one niche, people will start coming to you for that car, and probably for free advice too, which will take up the majority of your time. But the other question I get asked a lot is how to get into the car business, or how do I start buying and selling cars, or whatever. Of course, everybody wants to be a car flipper. Most people that do it for a hobby all think that they want to do it for a living. Oh yeah, I'm going to quit my job and just do what you do. It's amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's still a job, but yes, sure, it's amazing. But it's a lot harder than it looks. You know, we always say that we love what we do if it weren't for the clients. I guess you could also say we'd love what we do if it weren't for trying to maintain Italian cars that you're trying to resell. It's probably why I do mostly Porsches. But a lot of people come to me and say, how do I get into the car business? So I have kind of a standard formula or a standard answer that I give people. And I don't know if anyone's followed the advice or not, but I've gotten a lot of free lunches out of it. Not everybody should be in the car business. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of fraudsters. There's a lot of dirty competition. And unless you really, really know what you're doing, you're going to get screwed. But nobody listens to that, so then I have to tell them how to do it. I usually start with asking them, is there a car you love? Or is there a niche that you're a particular expert in? Because in order to do well at something, you have to know your product. So I tell people, pick a niche. Pick a car that you absolutely love or that you are committed to learning about. If you say, I'm going to do Vipers. I love Vipers. I don't know why you would say that, but if you love Vipers, you learn what their quirks are, what most cars need, what you're going to look at when you buy the car in terms of maintenance expense, common problems, things like that. Because if you don't know what those problems are, you're going to get into a world of hurt very quickly. For example, if you're buying a Porsche and you don't know what an IMS bearing is, then you should probably learn. If you are buying Ferraris and you don't know that you can reset the clutch snap reading, then you might get into a world of hurt. Or if you're buying, an E46 M3 or an M Roadster and you're not familiar with the subframe failures or the rod bearing issues, then maybe you're getting in over your head. If you're buying Porsche GT3s and you don't know what a DME readout is, you shouldn't be buying Porsche GT3s. Or you should, but you'd be Ed Bolian because you'd buy one with a whole bunch of over revs and paint work and not care. And probably enjoy the car more than the people that are all concerned about the number of over revs. So pick a niche that you know a lot about. And in doing that, not only are you going to learn the issues, but you're also going to learn the market, you're going to learn the marketing strategy, and you're going to learn what the buyers want. So if you are buying and selling good examples, then you have residual leads from one you sell. So if you get another one, you already have some people interested. The other advantage is you start to get to know your vendors. You know where the best place is to buy parts, maybe make specific salvage yards, and you get to know your local service shop very well, and you may start to get better deals because obviously if you're buying cars to resell, you're going to use the Ed Bolian trick. You're going to buy cars that are not marketed well, not photographed well, maybe not up to date on service that people need out of quickly. You're going to use your shrewd negotiation skills to buy a car for less than it's worth, and then you're going to put some money into it. As a car guy, I guess it's actually not too difficult to do this. I mean, it is fun to chase down cars you like, and I've been able to do it not from a business perspective, but just in setting up a challenge for myself and saying, hey, I want to go out and buy this particular car. So I got into Fox Body Mustang SSPs a couple years ago, and I said, I really want to go out and buy a used cop car because I collected Caprice 9C1s and all sorts of different police livery when I was a kid and stuff like that. I loved cop cars. So I wanted to go out and buy a 5-liter, 5-speed Mustang SSP that was restored to in-service spec. I joined all the forums. I joined the Facebook groups. I set a watch up on eBay. I just started researching as much as I could. And I am no expert, but goodness gracious, did I learn a lot about the SSPs, what they were going for. And so in doing that, in about 6 months, I was able to identify what the market was, why some were going for 10 and some were going for 20 that looked exactly the same, and determine when a deal came along whether or not it was a good car. And I bought a Texas Highway Patrol car and loved it and ended up selling it to a Fox Body collector friend of mine to fund my ridiculous Cannonball car, and ended up buying another California Highway Patrol car because I guess the bug just bit. If you set your mind to it and pick a niche and really learn about it, it's relatively easy to learn that product and start to know your way around the market so you can at least buy and sell a few cars for your personal collection and not get hurt too badly. But if you want to try to make it a business, you can see if there's enough volume there, if there's viable margins to make it worth your time.